Tennessee. From the east to the west, we are talking Cowboys everything. And you just entered
the Cowboy Zone.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cowboy Zone. I'm your host, Marcus Jones with the North City Cowboys, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And we got another special episode of the Cowboy Zone for you tonight. It is a Victory Wednesday as we celebrate our unexpected by most fans defeat of the Minnesota Vikings this past Sunday night. See, we got Philip Mullins in the building. Thank you for joining us, Philip Mullins. Appreciate your support. I see we got Riker tuning in. Riker moves the chains. Thank you for tuning in. Also, for you guys who are watching right now, make sure that you share this. Share it to your favorite group. We're going to do a lot of talk about the Denver Broncos tonight and some of the key matchups that we'll see and some of the major players that we can look forward to playing against in this Sunday's game. Thank you, Mendoza, for tuning in also. And if for you guys who are with me so far, I know you've done this already. But for the people who haven't already, make sure you like. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our social media. I'm Bluff City Cowboy, and my co-host Lambo is Cowboys Y'all. So you see I'm riding solo again another week. My guy Lambo still taking care of some personal matters. So hopefully he'll be joining us within the next week or so. So just shouts out to him. Keep taking care of your business. Until then, I'll be holding it down on the Cowboy Zone, talking about all the news and notes as it relates to our Dallas Cowboys. So because it's Wednesday, I've been trying to go away from doing game recaps because by the time you guys get here, I know everybody who's watching, you watch like 50 different podcasts. Everybody does their game recap. So you guys have already pretty much rehashed the game because you watch it also. You rehashed the game quite a few times, so I don't want to be overly redundant. So if there's something about the game you guys want to talk about, we're more than welcome to hop into it. But if not, we'll kick it off with some of the major storylines for this week, and then we will take it into some of the key matchups that we can expect against the Denver Broncos. So let's get into it with our major storylines.
Storylines.
All right. So the name of the game, once again, is injuries. We got a lot of guys who are coming back from injury. We've got some guys who have been injured. We got some guys who have been cut. Every week it seems like there's a turnstile at the bottom of the roster with some of our players that we all know and love. And Riker says moving the chains is more of a shit show than a recap show. No, I disagree with you, Riker. You've been putting out good content lately. And Dominique, thank you for joining. Definitely appreciate your support. For everybody who's in here right now, if you haven't done so already, like I said before, make sure you share this to your favorite Facebook group. We're gonna do a lot of talk about the Denver Broncos. I'm gonna give you guys some key names you can look out for. So when you're watching the game and you see something happen, you'll already kind of be aware of what's taking place. So let's get back into these storylines again. Well, the first big storyline is we lost Cox for the season. Looks like it's an ACL injury. Jabril Cox, everybody was really expecting to kind of see him step up at some point with the defense, considering we lost Jalen a couple weeks. And this is around the time of year where mid to late round rookies start to really get their snaps. We saw it a couple years back. Guys like Neville Gallimore started to touch the field around this time. Francis Bernard started to touch the field around this time a little bit. So this is normally the time of year where you see your rookie start to get a few more reps. They get a little bit more comfortable with the scheme. Unfortunately, we were robbed of that opportunity with Jabril Cox this year. So hopefully he gets well and we see him next year. But the flip to that is because of the depth of this team, we have another linebacker coming back. If you guys follow the show, you guys know I said this quite a bit last year. This kid was not very good in the box. One of the best cover linebackers in college. Very good on special teams. I'm sure that sounds very familiar. That's one of the ways we describe Cox. But we got Francis Bernard coming back off injury reserve. So he'll be pretty much filling in for the Jabril Cox role. Also coming back from injury reserve will be Michael Gallup. So he'll be getting his first action since week 1, returning from that ankle injury. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he gets reacclimated into the offense, considering how well Cedric Wilson has been playing the past month of football. So I didn't talk about the biggest two yet. I'm saving those for the end. The next one I gotta talk about, again, talking about the depth of the team. There was a report that Blake Jarwin missed practice today. Blake Jarwin, you may as well call him our number 2 tight end right now. Missed practice. In my opinion, he probably doesn't play this week just based on the nature of the injury, but you never know. But again, the depth of the team. We've got Sean McKeon coming from IR this week also. He was essentially our backup all of last year. He gets to come in and get a chance to prove himself a little bit because we'll really be needing him possibly next year because more than likely we're going to lose one of our 2 tight ends. So it looks like Sean McKeon may get a little bit of an audition. Just the way this team plays the injury reserve game. If Jarwin's injury looks a little bit bad, wouldn't be shocked to see him go on IR for a couple of weeks to give McKeon a few extra snaps. But more than likely, McKeon will get at least this 1 week as kind of a dress rehearsal for the offense. So it's been a lot of moving parts so far. A lot of guys going in and out. And then we got to talk about the 2 big ones. The first one we got to talk about is Dak Prescott. I didn't see anything in the reports today other than they're doing kind of a light practice. We talked about this a little bit in a couple of our private chats. One of the reasons they're doing a lighter practice is because this is a team we don't normally play. And teams are very limited to how much on-field work they can get. And because we have such a young team, a bunch of new players, I think the coaching staff may have felt that it may have been more beneficial for them to get a little bit more film study in than actual on-field work. Because on the field, our guys have been flying around. They've been pretty aggressive in their play. But there are always a few of the mental aspects that we need to tighten up. And when you have a team like this one that you only play once every 4 years, McEwen. Okay. Thank you for that, Dominic. I've been pronouncing it wrong quite a bit. So it's Sean McEwen. So like I was saying, because we don't play them that much, we don't have a lot of tape. So I feel like they're just taking this time to kind of familiarize themselves a little bit more with how the team works on both sides of the ball so that we can take advantage of all the mismatches that I think we have in this game. So let me throw the question out there real quick because I've been doing quite a bit of talking. I want to hear what you guys think. So we got Dak Prescott. Most people are saying this is a 3 to 4 week injury. Well, technically, we're kind of in week 3. We had the bye week, and then we had last week's game. So now we're kind of entering week 3. So if we continue the limited practices that they said we're going to have, What do you guys think about Dak playing this week? I know for myself personally, they said Dak was limited at practice again today, which means he was on the field. He did throw it around. But it was a light practice overall. And according to McCarthy, he said that the plan is for Dak to be full go in practice on Thursday. So definitely make sure you guys check tomorrow to see if he's actually full go. But just assuming that he is full go tomorrow, what do you guys think about whether or not he should play in this week's game? And Dominic says our depth is shockingly nice. Fortunate to have guys coming back as others are dropping off. I 100% agree with you. I think it has a lot to do with the new IR rules. If the rules hadn't changed and they were like years before and you only could bring back 2 guys, I'm sure you wouldn't see the turnover that we've been seeing. So the new rule change definitely helps in acquiring depth on the roster. Because if it was years past, I'm pretty sure guys like Golston and McEwen and guys like that probably would have been put on IR for the year. So back to Dak. Mendoza says, I think he plays, but I wouldn't be opposed to sitting him again. I see I got one of my classmates, Raphael, joining us, another lifelong Cowboys fan. So thank you for tuning in. He says Dak needs to play. We're going after that number 1 seed in the playoffs. Every game does count, especially when you got teams like Green Bay and Arizona with 1 loss, and Tampa Bay, even though they got their 2nd loss, they're still right there with us because they got the tiebreaker over us. And Dominique says, even with a lesser performance from Rush, this team can win the next 2 games without Dak. Only play him if he's ready. I definitely agree about the Denver game, and we'll get into that in a minute. For some reason, and I've been saying this since the offseason, something about that Atlanta game still scares me. We're going to talk about this next week, and hopefully I can get a show together with some of our other viewers, and maybe these guys can kind of talk me off a ledge, because I feel like Ridley's going to come back, and there's a lot of stuff about that team that has me concerned. I don't think they're as bad as their record suggests. Bob Hernandez looks like a new name. So, Bob, thank you for joining us. Definitely appreciate you coming in first night, giving us a comment. If you haven't done so already, Bob, make sure you like this broadcast. Also, make sure you find me on YouTube at Bluff City Cowboys and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So, Bob says we might be pushing our luck with Rush, although he did play well. I'd like to see Dak play Sunday. I mean, I agree with you on that one too, Bob, because I said this post-game after watching. As Cowboy fans, we look at it now and we look at all the bad throws Cooper Rush made. I mean, he could have had 4 interceptions easily. He threw quite a few balls into the sidelines during the game. But if people look back on this game a month from now and look at the stat sheet, they'll say, well, Cooper Rush had 60+% completion. He had 325 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. He had 1 interception. He had a great game, and he won. But I'm with you. There was some stuff to be concerned about in how Rush played this week. But luckily, our offense bailed him out, and our defense really bailed him out. And the Minnesota Vikings play caller bailed him out a lot as well in the offensive play calling and how they kind of ran their scheme. Riker says, I think he plays if at all possible. With Rodgers out, Green Bay may lose to KC, and this is our chance to jump both of them. Oh, I agree with you on that. And you're pretty much following up on what Raphael said about we're going after that first round bye, that number 1 seed. This is the week where we kind of get a bit of a stranglehold on the NFC. On top of that, We've got Kyler Murray injured. The Cardinals are saying he's not going to practice this week and he's going to come out and play. There's still no guarantees with that, even if he doesn't practice, that he'll be out there ready to play this Sunday. So let me go check real quick to see who the Cardinals are playing this week, to see what type of matchup it is. And if anybody knows, let me know. I may pull it up quicker than you guys do. All right, they play the 49ers this week. That's a division game. You could pretty much throw records out of the window. The Niners have a pretty good pass rush, very good running game. That could be a coin flip, even if Kyler Murray plays. Without him playing, there's no guarantee they can pull that one off. So this game definitely can become very important for our team. I see we got Franco back in the building. Thank you for joining, Franco. Appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you keep bringing those great questions and comments that you've been bringing the past couple of weeks that you've been joining us. And Rika says she's not opposed to sitting him. Once we talk about these matchups, I'll get into that also. Dominique talks about the offense. Definitely, it's definitely their offense. If Ridley plays, I think they have a lot of matchups that they could take advantage of. It could be another high scoring affair, and you just never know. And Rika says the Rams play the Titans. Titans aren't really a team I'm afraid of without Derrick Henry. They signed Adrian Peterson. I think Adrian Peterson would do better than most people expect, but that offense lives and dies off Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown is going to get the Ramsey treatment this week, so they're really going to rely heavily on whatever Julio Jones can get them, even if he plays. So we'll see. And we got Charlie joining us. Thank you for joining, Charlie. Charlie's pretty much status quo. If he can go, is there a chance for injury? If the answer is yes and no, you play him. That's definitely an option. We don't kick people out of the Cowboy zone, Rika. We take on all comments, good or bad. And Raphael says, Calvin really walked away from the game, so I'm not worried about Atlanta. I think they're going to take this game personal. I mean, first of all, they had the horrifying loss last year. They get us back home. We've got their former coach as our DC. They have a lot to play for this game. And I could see maybe that extra week of Ridley being out, he come back and try to get a little bit of revenge. And Dominique pointing out some of the parity in the league, talking about how the best teams in NFC have QB issues. You got Dak with the calf, Kyler with the shoulder, Jameis with the ACL, Rodgers with the surprising COVID thing this week, and then you got Tom Brady, just an old man. That Aaron Rodgers thing really shocked me. I know this is not a Green Bay podcast, but I'm not shocked by it because that seems like the type of person Aaron Rodgers is. He does things his way and thinks he gets away with it. And the NFL said, no, Aaron Rodgers, pump your brakes. You can't do things the way you want to do them this time. And we're going to show you by making you sit out for 10 days. All right, we got Franco saying play Dak, and if we get the lead, let Rush finish off the game. If that happens, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I would rather either we're going to play him or we're not. But if it's a multiple touchdown game, I wouldn't be opposed to it. See, we got my guy Richard Woodard in the building. And thank you for joining, Richard. Franco, actually, we talked about this Saturday night on Keeping Up with the Joneses. If Dak were to have played last week, do we put him in? And if we get up by 2 touchdowns, do we put him on the sideline? So definitely something else they can keep in the back of their minds for this week also. And I think this week will be far more likely, in my opinion. And we got Leslie Fuller another new name from Facebook. So Leslie, thank you for joining us. I see you coming in first week and already leaving comments, so thank you for that. If you haven't done so already, Leslie, make sure you like this. Make sure you share this to your favorite Cowboys group. And also make sure you find me on YouTube at Bluff City Cowboys. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. And now see we got my guy William Coulter joining. Thank you for tuning in, William. I know there are a bunch of podcasts going on right now. For some reason, everybody's transitioned from Tuesday nights to Wednesday nights. So we're up against a bunch of people. But I thank you guys who are consistently watching the Cowboy Zone and joining the dialogue with your great questions and your great comments. So now we got our last storyline before we talk about the game. We're at 21 minutes. The last storyline is Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith left the game last week. We all kind of just saw him standing on the sideline looking upset. Nobody really knew what was going on. We all kind of assumed it was the injury he's been kind of dealing with the past couple of weeks. Some people thought it may have been the back tightening up, but we find out that it was a bone spur around his ankle area. So they're saying he may not be able to play this week. Now, from the little bit I know about bone spurs, and thank you, William Coates, I appreciate that definitely. You've been with us from day one, so we always appreciate your support. So the little bit I know about bone spurs are basically like a calcium buildup from just former injuries, and that calcium buildup can kind of go in between a ligament or bones, and it's really just like a painful shard that you have in your body. Based on the fact that it's in his foot ankle area, they're saying he's out this week. From what I understand of bone spurs, it's really more of a pain tolerance thing. I hear they're really painful. And of course, with anything painful, you can always give it a shot. I don't think surgery would be an option. I think all they can really do is just manage the inflammation and manage the pain. So if he doesn't play this week, I would be shocked if it goes any further than that. And Charlie says he needs to have surgery right away. No reason to let it linger. Have the surgery and sit out 2 to 3 weeks. I agree with that too, Charlie. I mean, from what I understand, it's basically like just a cleanup surgery. You go in with a small incision, find the spot, and I don't know if you use a laser or whatever to kind of get rid of the excess, and then just give it the week or two it needs to heal. From what I understand, it can be a 2-week surgery, especially in that area. If it was more like in his back spinal area where a lot of people normally have it could take longer. But William says, you're right, William. They said he doesn't need surgery right now because really it's just the inflammation and pain tolerance thing. But surgery is an option to get rid of it. He's definitely having surgery in the off season. The question is, do we want to put him under the knife now and let him suffer, get the 2 weeks out and then come back, or do we want to just make him play through the pain all year? And also based on the fact that it's in his ankle, there's also things they can do with tape and shoes and stuff like that, special devices that they can kind of alleviate the friction in that area to kind of help alleviate the pain with that. And Charlie says obviously he isn't handling the pain very well. Well, if he sat out this past week, you would assume he isn't. But you also have to think about it. If it's painful in his foot, it could be affecting his plant leg, his kick leg, stuff like that. And you don't want to get your quarterback hurt because he can't put weight on his back foot or his power foot. And Raphael kind of leading into my next question to talk about. Raphael says bump Connor Williams to his natural position of left tackle, put Lyle at left guard, and let Tyron heal. So that's kind of the question I want to leave to you guys before we move on to our key matchups. What do you guys think we should do in terms of Tyron's position? If it's just 1 week or if he decides to have the surgery and misses 2 more weeks. Now, Raphael, I hate to tell you, this one isn't happening. Connor Williams is a left guard, and he's going to be a left guard until he leaves Dallas. So that one definitely isn't happening. But we do have a couple of other options. The first option is we have Lyle Collins. He just came back. They could put him back at right tackle. They could flip over Terrence Steele to left tackle. He played left tackle in the preseason quite a bit. Looked very natural there, so that's an option. We could leave things as they are. Let Terrence Steele stay on the right side. Continue to let Ty Nsekhe play that left tackle spot. And then use Lyle as kind of an emergency. We also have Josh Ball, our 4th round pick from this past year. Probably a 2nd round talent, but because of personal off the field matters, he fell to the 4th. That could be an option also. So we have different options we can choose, and I see you guys are starting to kind of put things up. So Riker says keep Nsekhe 1 more week. If it's longer than that, bring Steele over and put Collins on the right. Don't have any problems with that. William Coulter pretty much agreeing with you. Saying put Collins at right tackle, move Steele to left. And Charlie saying let Lyle and Ty battle it out. But they are going with all LC, Ty and Steele battling out. I'm 100% against moving Steele to left tackle. Leave him where he's at. And Dominique coming in with the opposite opinion, saying Steele is your swing tackle. Let him go to left. Put Lyle back at his right tackle spot. So, all of those options are possible. You can keep Ty there. Lyle is a possibility at left tackle. Steele is your right tackle. Mendoza says if Tyron is out, I'm playing Steele at left tackle, Collins at right tackle. Again, all of those are great options. I don't think any of those options are bad, and that really speaks to the depth of our team right now, that we essentially have 6 guys who everybody would feel comfortable in any combination being on our offensive line, especially at left tackle and right tackle. So, to be honest, I'm really leaning with Charlie on this one. And as a guy who just played a little bit offensive line, that continuity is really important to me. And if Steele has been your right tackle for 6 weeks and he's been looking good, in my opinion, he's kind of your starter right now. As much as we hate to admit it, looking at the contract and looking at the history, Lyle is our backup tackle right now. And backup tackles have to play where you need them at. And they have to compete and win out to be the best guy. So I wouldn't have a lot of issues with Terrence Steele if he moved to left tackle. But in my opinion, if you do that, I feel like now you're changing 2 starting spots at both tackle positions. Because now Terrence Steele's been playing 6 weeks as your right tackle. Now you're throwing him at a new position on the fly if you do that. And then Lyle Collins hasn't played right tackle in 2 years? We talked about this on Keeping Up with the Joneses. As much as we love Lyle Collins, he's played 1 game of football in 2 years. It's not like riding a bike. So we could say he's going to hop in and be the right tackle we expect. If Steele is a better right tackle than him right now, let's see what Collins can do at left tackle and if he can beat out Ty Nsekhe. Now, if something that happens in practice and he can beat out Steele, I say, okay, let's put him at right tackle. But from what I'm seeing right now, it looks like Steele's going to keep that spot. And Lyle's going to get a little bit more position flex. than he expected. Just like with left guard. People talk about Lyle going to left guard as if they're doing it to replace Connor. No. Lyle Collins is your backup lineman. Backup linemen play multiple positions. Just like Connor McGovern played guard, center guard, just like Brandon Knight played left guard, left tackle, right tackle. Lyle Collins at this point is in that same position. He has to compete for a job if he wants to start. Mendoza making a great point saying Collins hasn't played left tackle since LSU. That's a good point. But let me throw this one to you. Terrence Steele in college played strictly right tackle. He's only played left tackle while he was at Dallas. So we talk about Lyle Collins. Terrence Steele hasn't played left tackle since college. I mean, yeah, he hasn't played left tackle on a consistent basis since college. He was a 3 or 4 year starter at Texas Tech at right tackle. So if you really look at it, they're about the same amount of time away from playing left tackle if Steele played left tackle at all in college, which I don't think he did. But again, Collins is the backup right now. And for a backup, you got to get in where you fit in to get on the field. Now, if he can't beat out Ty Nsekhe after what I saw, maybe he doesn't deserve to be on the field right now. You just never know. But either way, I don't care as long as we put the two best tackles on the field because those positions are very important. I wouldn't rock the boat, but if you feel like Steele makes a better left tackle and Collins can feel more natural at right, so be it. Yeah, that's what I said, Dominique. Steele was a right tackle in Tech. So we're talking about moving Steele to left tackle. It may have been longer for him since he played left tackle. Riker. Terrence Steele played right tackle at Texas Tech. I'm 100% certain of that one. Yeah, he played right tackle. So we don't really know like how much he played left tackle. You say he played some left tackle. We don't know how much is some, and that was in college. Collins could be a better left tackle than him. We just don't know. Collins was an All-American left tackle. But Collins is the backup, and like Charlie says, people hate it, but he got Wally pipped, and Riker asked who Wally Pip is, and it's a baseball term. Like Charlie said, Google is your friend. So yeah, but it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. If Rush is your quarterback, he needs as much protection as he can get because he was selling balls left and right when there was anybody in his face. And if Dak's the starter, you definitely need to do what you need to do to make sure that he can stay healthy. So Charlie telling us his sources tell us Collins is natural from the left side. All right, guys. We're at 35 minutes. Thank you guys for all your comments so far. Everybody really got involved with the tackle talk. I had a feeling that would happen. So thank you guys for your questions and your comments. So now let's talk about this game because this is going to be a very interesting game. I don't know why I ended up doing this. Normally, when I watch the team play, I normally only watch 3 games, but somehow with Denver, I end up watching all 7 of them. So I've seen a lot of Denver Broncos tape so far. And I'm going to give you my opinions on what I've seen in terms of the players they have and the key matchups to pay attention to in this game. So let's get into it with our key matchups.
Key matchups.
All right, so going into our key matchups, this time I think I'll start with the Broncos offense because everybody loves talking about our offense first. But let me start with the Broncos offense first. Looking at this game, It's a lot of interesting matchups to pay attention to. The first one you got to pay attention to is, of course, you always go to the receiver position. You got Cortland Sutton playing against Trayvon Diggs. This is going to be a good matchup. Trayvon Diggs. Rika said she did her homework also. So if you did your homework, Rika, and I read your articles, you're usually pretty in depth. I'll take your word for it. All right, so back to these key matchups. First of all, you start off with Cortland Sutton. Now, I think this is a great game for Trayvon Diggs. And Dominique did some homework behind Rika's suggestion, and he did fact check, said Steele was a left tackle for 10 games as a sophomore, but a right tackle the last 2 games, stayed at right tackle his junior and senior year. So based on that, it's been 4 years since he played any left tackle also. Mendoza, we'll get to this one in a minute. I don't think Gary Bowles is going to play this week. So that one's going to be really interesting. So like I was saying, Trayvon Diggs versus Cortland Sutton should be a great matchup. Cortland Sutton, 6'4", 215 wide receiver. Not much of a route runner, really more of a 50-50 ball guy. This plays right in the Trayvon Diggs wheelhouse. The only real problems he have been with guys who are shifty guys, a lot of double moves. He usually does a great job with guys who are really just 3 route runner guys like Cortland Sutton that rely on athleticism. So just like Raphael said, Trayvon should really lock Cortland Sutton up. I agree with that. Then you go to the opposite side of the ball. I mean, the opposite side of the field, and you look at Jerry Jeudy in his second game back going against Anthony Brown. Jerry Jeudy had a pretty good rookie year last year. He's coming back off injury reserve this week. Kind of a shifty wide receiver. Anthony Brown usually has trouble with those guys, but I think Anthony Brown will match up very well with this guy on the outside. Looking at Denver's offense, they don't do a lot of double moves. They don't do a lot of deep routes where you have the out and ups or the hitch and goes and the sluggos, stuff that normally gives Anthony Brown problems. So I don't think this matchup is going to cause a lot of issues for him. He's really good when he can kind of sit back and watch the play in front of him or stay close to the guy's hip. So I'm not looking for the receivers to do a lot of damage. Now, their slot receiver, Tim Patrick, he's been playing outside the past 4 weeks. He's been looking average outside. He's a much better receiver on the inside. So Jordan Lewis trying to cover Tim Patrick, pretty big receiver who can run routes really well. So if there's anything to watch offensively, I think it's that Tim Patrick versus Jordan Lewis matchup. I know a lot of fans are going to say, who is this guy? But he'll make his presence known pretty quickly. He's a big receiver, and he runs pretty good routes on the outside. Now, Raphael talks about the position that scares me. The only offensive position that scares me, honestly, and that's their tight ends. They've got Noah Fant, who, for some reason, so Dominique says it's going to be Trayvon Diggs versus Jerry Jeudy. So you don't think he's going to follow Sutton? That's interesting. I mean, either way, I think we still have good matchups. I like Diggs more against Sutton just because you have that height advantage and physicality advantage with Brown against Sutton for their offense. Okay, Dominique saying Fant is out this week. So Fant is out, but they do have another tight end. That's Albert O, a guy that I really liked coming out of Missouri. Bigger than Fant, faster than Fant. And yeah, Fant is disgruntled. I don't think he likes the competition playing behind him. That's Albert O. Albert O hasn't made a lot of plays, but he has the ability to to be a troublemaker in that offense. Every game that I watched him play, he never dropped the ball. I mean, he was sure-handed, which was a big problem for him coming out of college. His speed was on display quite a bit. He got down the field quickly coming off that line of scrimmage. Now, we do have a very good safety in J-Ron Curse, who's been doing very well in coverage. This is the type of speed he hasn't seen at tight end so far. So it's definitely something we got to take advantage of. So there is some potential for Albert O to make a few plays. Looking at that offense in general, and their offensive coordinator is Pat Shermer, former OC for Minnesota. We're going to see a lot of similarities between what we saw last week and what we're going to see this week. And that's what I love about this game. And I see we got Geechee coming in the building. Thank you for joining us, Geechee. Definitely appreciate you tuning in. When I look at Denver's offense, it was almost like watching Minnesota, but in orange jerseys. They run a lot of off tackle with their running backs. They do a lot of play action. They do a lot of bootlegs. A very slow paced offense. Just kind of trying to get down the field, hoping they can gas you off the tackle. Eventually, they'll try to throw it deep to one of their receivers on the outside. And that's pretty much it. So expect to see a lot of off tackle with their running backs. They do have two talented running backs. They both have about 350 yards each this year. Both averaging about 4.5 yards a carry. Both with about 60 rushes. So their running backs are pretty even. They're both consistently good, so you don't get much of a drop-off between one or the other. It's almost like having one really good bell cow back. And Charlie says every week people worry about Brown. Eventually he'll have a bad game and they'll get what they want. And you're definitely right. That one pass that wasn't even completed and social media blew up. I agree with you, Charlie. I just think Sutton versus Diggs is a much better matchup for him. Yeah, and Mendoza, definitely right. Denver's offense is what we've seen Sunday night. Denver's defense is not as good as Minnesota's defense. That's why I'm thinking this one might get ugly for them early, especially if Dak plays. All right, so going back to the offense, and thank you, Amanda, for tuning in. Definitely appreciate you joining us from the DC4L fan Facebook page. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure you check that out. And Mendoza talking about Gordon and Williams. They rotate them quite a bit. It's almost hard to tell who's on the field and who's not. Like I said, if you look up their stats, they're almost identical. Same amount of attempts, same amount of rushing yards. Rushing average is right at the same 4.5, 4.6. Same amount of receptions. And Mendoza says that secondary is the best part of that defense. We'll get to that in a second too. But let me go through the rest of the offense really quick. The only thing that concerns me about this game, potentially, is they do a lot of play action. And they have a tight end that could really get down the field. Michael Parsons had a great game last week. And I'm happy to see it. As long as those guys don't get sucked on the play action and they stay they keep their gap integrity up, I think this one shouldn't be close. But you never know what happens week to week. The coaches said they're spending more time on tape study for a reason. So definitely they feel like there are some things in this game that they want to make sure they have tightened up before we get to it. So we definitely want to pay attention to that one. I think the only way we lose this game against their offense is if we beat ourselves. Looking at every game they played, this offense did not show me anything. I mean, they scored 27 against the Raiders. Other than that, they've been a 19 or under offense. And And I know a lot of people won't agree with me on this one. And I see we got DJ Dog in the building. Thank you for joining us. Talking about Micah showing up at the facility at 6 a.m. Definitely love to hear that from a young player. It definitely showed in his game this week in terms of his preparation. He already plays fast, but you can go back and look at some of those plays that he made in the backfield, and you can just see his reaction time was like another step quicker, where he was already at the ball before he got there. And if he keeps that up, the next time is going to be jumping in front of some stuff and making some really big plays. So we definitely love to see that. Now, when I look at this offense, I know a lot of people hate to hear this because at one point there was talk about letting Dak go and signing Teddy Bridgewater to be our quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater has held that offense back so far, in my opinion, from watching the games. Mendoza talks about the offense 26th or worse in the red zone scoring. And they do average 19 a game. Like I said before, they scored 27 against Oakland. Other than that, they haven't touched the 20-point mark this year. When I watch Teddy Bridgewater play, it's crazy to say this, it almost looked like Cooper Rush. Like when you watch him play, either he's afraid to plant on his leg or his linemen are getting beat and in his face, or I think he's hurt, honestly. I think that's really what it is. I think he's still hurt because he missed like 3 games and their backups are awful, even though I did like the kid coming out, Drew Lock from Missouri a couple years ago. I think those guys aren't good, and Teddy's just a team guy and a born leader that he's kind of toughing it out and playing. But when you watch him play, when he throws it to the tight end, he makes the decision quickly. When he throws it to the running back, it's a quick decision. When he throws it to a wide receiver, it almost looks like he's trying to mentally talk himself out of throwing the ball. You can see a bit of hesitation in his throws. And with the way our corners have been playing, that's not going to be good if you hesitate. And his ball doesn't look tight. It seems like Charlie made the point Sunday night, saying when Cooper Rush throws an out route, it looks like it takes 20 seconds. That's kind of how Teddy Bridgewater's ball looks when he throws it to the wide receivers. So I'm looking for this team, like Raphael said. We should get a couple of sacks just because him holding the ball too long. We'll probably get a couple of interceptions, to be honest, also, because when he throws it outside, he's not the same quarterback. And DJ Dog said, I like the rookie running back Devontae Williams, North Carolina. I loved him coming out, him and Carter both. And like I talked about earlier in the show, Williams and Melvin Gordon have almost been at like a 50-50 snap count in terms of their production. So you're going to get a heavy dose of both of them, almost like rotating drives to some extent. And Charlie giving us some of the next level stats, talking about efficiency-wise, they aren't bad. Again, when you have a Teddy Bridgewater-led team, you're going to be efficient because that's just the way he plays. And also, they have 2 running backs who are averaging 4.5 yards a carry. But watching the game, Teddy lets that thing sail. Now, Cortland Sutton is a great 50-50 ball receiver. Cortland Sutton's bailed him out a lot. Albert O, 6'6", 4.3 speed tight end. I didn't see him drop a ball whenever it was thrown to him. Albert O has helped him out a lot. Those running backs are very good at route running out of the backfield. I mean, we remember Melvin Gordon during his time with the Chargers. Very great pass catcher. If you guys watched Devontae Williams at North Carolina, you would know he was kind of the pass catching back also. Those guys have helped him out a lot. But when you go and watch him in the game, he doesn't throw a pretty ball when it goes out on the hashes. Our corners are going to take advantage of that. And on top of that, like I said before, Teddy's had a tendency to hold on to the ball quite a bit. And the way we look at this, so if you're watching the replay, you're watching the Washington game. And DJ Dog, I'll get to this in a minute. It was a lot of fool's gold in that game. Washington is not Denver. It doesn't look as good as they looked against Washington defensively. We watched them in other games. So we'll get to that in a minute. Mendoza brought the comment about Garrett Bowles, their left tackle. Well, it looks like Garrett Bowles won't play this week. So they're going to be playing with their backup left tackle. I believe his name is Calvin Anderson. Watching him, he's not the worst tackle I've seen us play so far. That's not saying he's a good tackle, but he's not the worst I've seen. One thing I do kind of like about him, he plays aggressive. Even as a backup, he's coming out there and he's attacking the ends. He really likes to make the first contact with the guys. I don't know if that's because his athleticism is lacking, but he's really, really good in run blocking. So watching him in run blocking kind of lets me know he really depends on his strength to play the game. His athleticism may be lacking. So the way Randy Gregory's been playing the past couple of weeks, kind of playing a little bit more physical, getting his hand placement and hand usage more aggressive, I think that's a great matchup for Randy Gregory. Looking at the right side of the ball, when I saw the name Bobby Massey was playing right tackle, initially I was like, okay, somebody's going to have a field day on the right side. Bobby Massey is actually playing really well for the Broncos. Yeah, Mendoza, as soon as you say that, Bobby Massey has been their starting right tackle. Watching him play, he hasn't been bad. I remember him during his years in Chicago. I remember him all the way back to Ole Miss because I went to Ole Miss, so of course I watched all my guys play. He mostly played left tackle at Ole Miss and a little bit in the league. I think he played for Chicago for a few years. He didn't look that good. He looked like he'd just be kind of a journeyman replacement type guy. He looks really natural at right tackle. So I don't think that's going to be as big of a mismatch as I thought. In the interior, their center lineup is pretty good. They got some big, strong guards. They seem to do really well in pass coverage. They're not as susceptible to the bull rush as some of the other guards I've seen. So I think it's going to be a pretty good matchup. So I'm expecting Randy Gregory to kind of be the guy once again to spearhead our pass rush. But like I said before, Teddy doesn't really trust his legs if you watch him. Just from him holding the ball, there's going to be some opportunities for sacks. Yeah, Dalton Reiser, a guy I really liked out of Kansas State. I believe it was 2019. Cushenberry is the center out of LSU. I think he's a rookie, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know if I'm wrong on that, Mendoza, because I know you keep up with the draft more than me. I believe Cushenberry is a rookie. He hasn't played like a rookie. He's actually looked better than what I've seen from our center so far. And Graham Glasgow, I'm not really familiar with him from college, but just watching the tape on him, he looks to be a pretty solid guard. And Mendoza saying they have Dominique's guy, who he talked about all draft season, Quinn Miners, a guy that he really liked coming out of the small school. And Raphael said, you keep Teddy in the pocket, the game is over. Definitely agree with that. He doesn't like to run. He doesn't like to leave the pocket. He really prefers to just stand in there and throw it. And he loves to get it out to those running backs and their tight end. So something I've talked about the past couple of weeks with Micah Parsons not having to really cover running backs because a lot of teams we play don't focus on the running back pass. This is one of those weeks where you're going to see it a lot more. We didn't see it as much in Minnesota as I thought we would, but when we did, he was all over it. So he should have the opportunity for another very solid game. All right, guys, we're at 56 minutes. Keep the questions and comments going. Keep the questions and comments going because this is going to be an interesting game. Okay, thank you, Mendoza. Cushenberry has been in the league for 2 years out of LSU. These last 2 years have been kind of a blur for me in terms of drafts. So, yeah, thank you for that. We're at 56 minutes. Now we're about to talk about the fun stuff. Everybody likes talking about our offense. If there's any matchups you guys want me to talk about, let me know in terms of their defense versus our offense. Like I said, somehow I ended up watching every game of Denver. So I'm really familiar with their defense. They made a lot of changes in the past couple of weeks just from injuries and stuff like that. Yep, DJ Dog. Albert O. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, but the big tight end from Missouri. I don't know where he got these great hands from, but he hasn't dropped the ball so far that I've seen. 6'6", 4.3 speed. He's really been doing well running the deep drag routes coming off the line of scrimmage. All right, guys, let's talk about our offense versus their defense. So let's start once again on the edges because that's where everybody likes to go. And you talk about their corner position. Now, this is something that's really intriguing for me, and I don't know how they're going to handle it this week. So the first 5 weeks, they have how did I just go blank on his name? The cornerback that Kyle Fuller, the cornerback that played for Chicago out of Virginia Tech. They paid him a lot of money to come there this year. The first 5 weeks, he was their slot corner. Of course, Patrick Surtain was the first round pick. They also signed Ronald Darby. And Mendoza says CD versus Callahan. Actually, Callahan is on injury reserve right now. And I'm about to get into that, Mendoza, with Callahan. So the first 5 weeks, Kyle Fuller was their slot nickel corner. And something happened week 6. He didn't touch the field. And actually, Bryce Callahan, who Mendoza just brought up, he was their slot nickel corner. And Kyle Fuller barely touched the field. So last week, Kyle Fuller got hurt. And you would expect, not Kyle Fuller, I'm sorry. Last week, Bryce Callahan got hurt during the game. And you would expect, okay, we've got a $10 million corner sitting on the bench. Maybe we're going to see him on the field. No, they brought in Nate Hairston. So Nate Hairston played almost 50-50 with Kyle Fuller in the slot last week. So after watching the game, I kind of read up on Denver, and it sounds like they're going to go with the rookie as their number 3 corner this week. So apparently Kyle Fuller is in the doghouse for some reason. So I know we all know the name Kyle Fuller, thought he was a great corner. For some reason, Denver doesn't want to play him, but we'll definitely take advantage of it. So in the slot, you can look for a lot of Nate Hairston, and the cornerback is out of Iowa. I can't even think of his name. I think it's Michael something. He's been hurt all year, but this is his first game back. The coach talked about he's excited about seeing him on the field. So that's going to be interesting to pay attention to. Who's their nickel corner, Kyle Fuller or one of these young guys? And if it's Kyle Fuller, apparently they're not a fan of him right now, so maybe he's slipping. So now we go to the outside positions. And we got Patrick Surtain, of course. Name that everybody knows because most fans want him to be our first round pick. He's been solid so far this year. DJ Dog said, yeah, keep him in the doghouse. Mendoza saying, yeah, the young guy is probably going to play. It's weird. Kyle Fuller didn't play at all like the last 2 weeks, and apparently he's not hurt. So either he's got on the coach's bad side or his play is lagging. On the other side, they have Ronald Darby. He's been pretty much the outside corner all season. Another name we all are pretty familiar with because of his time with Washington for several years. And surprisingly, I thought he would be the nickel corner, and they may let Kyle Fuller play outside. He's their outside corner. So it's going to be interesting. Mendoza says Surtain versus CD. You don't know. Either way, I think it's a great matchup for us. Yeah, I forgot Darby's one of your Florida State guys. But yeah, when I watch them play, they remind me a lot of 2019 Dallas Cowboys secondary in terms of the cornerbacks. Patrick Surtain, he's there, but his awareness is lacking. Ronald Darby, he's solid, but once again, I talk about this every week. So far, we haven't played a team whose number 2 corner I would take over Anthony Brown. This is another one of those weeks. So, if you guys don't like Anthony Brown, Ronald Darby is not as good as him. So get excited. And we also got Michael Gallup coming back for our offense. So now, Mendoza talks about PS2 versus CD. It might be PS2 versus Gallup. And CD might slide back in that slot against whatever young cornerback they throw at him. So definitely something to be aware of. And like I said before, Patrick hasn't been very good with ball awareness. And with a guy like Gallup, that could hurt him when it comes to making plays on the ball. I see we got my guy Jeff joining us. Thank you for joining, Jeff. Appreciate you tuning in. And then we got Amari Cooper on the right side going against Darby. So yeah, we got a lot of matchups that we could take advantage of. A lot of people keep saying the secondary is their strength, which I agree with, but not because of the corner position. It's because of these safeties. Justin Simmons is playing very well in that secondary. He's playing all over the field. He's really flying around. Their other safety, again, when I'm going live, names will escape me. So you can tell me the name of the other safety. I think he came from Houston, if I'm not mistaken. But he's playing solid as well. But Justin Simmons is really making up for a lot of the weaknesses in the secondary. The only problem is Kareem Jackson. Thank you, Mendoza. Kareem Jackson from Houston, which I was right about that. Both of these guys have the ability to play deep and play in the box. They do a lot of rotating. Once again, very similar to what we saw in Minnesota. Mendoza pointed that out earlier. Those two teams are kind of mirror images of each other. So Justin Simmons has the ability to make plays on the ball as well as Kareem Jackson. Their safeties really help them out a lot, but I think we have a major advantage in our receivers versus their corners. And DJ Dog, we talked about this early in the show during storylines. He asked what I think about the reports about Steele practicing at left and Collins at right. And I feel personally, Steele has given us 5 games of solid production. I don't like rocking the boat when it comes to offensive line. As of right now, I consider Steele my starting right tackle. So if you move Steele to left and Collins to right, you're essentially changing 2 starting positions on the line. And I don't like those kind of changes. Now, the beauty of this team is we have 7 offensive linemen, including Connor McGovern, who have the ability to play and be competent starters. So if you make the move and they both look well in practice and they keep the continuity, I don't have a problem with it. I just don't like rocking the boat if I don't have to. Collins has played left tackle before. He's considered the backup right now. If he can beat out Ty Nsekhe or Nseki, you can play him at left tackle. But I wouldn't move Steele right now as a young player who just got his groove going at a position, because to be honest, next year that might be his permanent spot. So if they feel like it could be, why rock the boat now? Mendoza also talks about Caden Stearns as their backup. Talented safety out of Texas. I liked him a lot coming out of Texas. Haven't really seen him a lot playing for Denver. Jeff says he could beat out Ty. Yeah, their safeties play a ball. Yep, the safety from Texas, DJ Dog. So now, we talked about the secondary quite a bit. We have a lot of matchups to take advantage of in the secondary. Surtain is a solid corner, but awareness is still kind of lacking for a young guy. Ronald Darby, kind of a smallish corner. He could be taken advantage of, and they don't seem like they like Kyle Fuller. Now I go to their linebacker position, and we talk about their linebackers versus our running backs, essentially. When I watched Denver play the first 6 weeks, their middle linebackers looked awful. They looked 3 steps slower than everybody, and it showed in how teams just kept gashing them. They made a change last week, Mendoza, and they brought in our guy Baron Browning. He hasn't played a snap of defense all year. If he did, it must have got away from me because I watched to see him play. I didn't see him play a snap the first 7 weeks. He came in last week and had 9 tackles and was their best defensive player. It was ridiculous. Outside of Justin Simmons, he was their best defensive player. It looks like he may have that inside linebacker spot right now, but their other inside linebackers, those guys look like they're running in quicksand. They couldn't stop anything in terms of outside running. They were 5 yards away from running backs on passing plays. On inside runs, the defensive tackles really bailed them out. So Baron Browning had a solid game this year, but he's a rookie. So there are some opportunities to take advantage of his aggressiveness. But their other linebackers are not very good, in my opinion, looking at the game. Yeah, they do have Baron Browning. I'm shocked they didn't use him all year, honestly, DJ Dog. So then we go to their outside linebackers, which is kind of the talk of the week, because in a surprising move, they traded the mayor of Denver, Von Miller. So Von Miller leaves. Before last week, Von Miller was the only defensive player with more than 2 sacks. He was the only defensive player still who had more than 10 pressures. So just like Mendoza said, their other guys are just guys. None of them really stand out. So on the opposite end, they just signed Stephen Weatherly from Minnesota. So he's kind of getting snaps at outside linebacker. He's not starting right now. He's an above average player, kind of bringing a veteran presence to replace Von Miller a little bit. Nothing to be afraid of. And they have their rookie, Jonathan Cooper, another Ohio State linebacker. In my opinion, was probably the worst linebacker on that team last year. And he's now Denver's starting outside linebacker. So regardless of who the left tackle is, he'll be going against a 7th round rookie linebacker from this year. Now, when I look at their defensive ends or their outside linebackers, because they run a 3-4, they're both about 240. DJ Dog, Cooper, you might be thinking of the other outside linebacker, because I don't think Cooper has any sacks, if I'm not mistaken. Malik Reed has sacks, the other defensive end. So, talking about, and I can pull it up real quick if you need me to. Jonathan Cooper does not have a sack. I was right. You may be thinking of Malik Reed. So, Jonathan Cooper and Malik Reed, they're both about 240 playing outside linebacker. They're both awful against the run. So if there's any week that we can kind of take advantage of a team on the edge in terms of running the ball as well as throwing passes to our running backs, this is the week. This is the week that Cooper Rush may get a day off if he plays, because they have no shot of stopping us running the ball on the edges and really inside if we get past that first level. Malik Reed has 4 sacks. To me, that's fool's gold because he got 2 of them against Washington. Stephen Weatherly got a sack against Washington. What's the defensive tackle's name? Shelby Harris had a sack against Washington. Washington just didn't have a good week, and they piled their stats on against their team. Against every other team they played, they just looked like a below average team. Most teams they played got the lead and just ran the ball on, and they couldn't stop them. If you guys get a chance to go back and watch Cleveland game, if you don't want to go back and watch all 7, that's a prime example of how every team had played them. They basically just get a 3-point lead and just run the clock out. So that takes care of the outside linebackers. I don't expect much of a pass rush from them. They're both young, undersized guys. Jonathan Cooper isn't really an athletic speed guy, so I don't think he'll be able to kind of take advantage of going around the edge on whoever our left tackle is. So in my opinion, if there's any week to try something new out at left tackle, this will probably be the week to do it, because I don't think the competition will be able to compete with whoever we put out there. So then we go in the trenches talking about their defensive tackles. And Mendoza talking about the 3-4. They got Draymond Jones, former 2nd-round pick out of Ohio State, and Shelby Harris. I don't remember what college he went to, but he's been in Denver for quite a bit. Those were their defensive ends. One thing I noticed, Mendoza, watching the game, they play Draymond Jones a lot inside. They don't really play him at defensive end as much as you would think they do. Looking at Denver's defensive line, they run a 3-4, but all 3 of their starting defensive tackles around 285, 290. They're really guys who kind of take advantage of their quickness, try to penetrate, and really don't have a plan once they get back there if they can. So that's definitely something to watch out for when it comes to this game. Shelby Harris is probably the best defensive end they have right now. He's the guy that can generate any kind of pass rush, and he's kind of their cleanup guy when it comes to the run game. I don't really see an advantage on the line that I think they can take advantage of on the inside. Connor Williams has been getting holding calls every week. I can see a guy like Shelby Harris probably having another holding call on him. Mendoza says Mike Purcell is their defensive tackle. Mike Purcell may be their defensive tackle, but I've been seeing Draymond Jones inside quite a bit in their 3-4 and in their 4-3 packages. And really when they go 4-3, they usually put McTelvin Agam, the guy you just talked about, they put him inside. I don't know if Mike Purcell maybe just one of those big fat guys who's not really in shape and they just try to bring him in on first down only. I didn't notice him a lot on tape. But again, like I said, just talking about key matchups, I don't see a lot of matchups other than maybe Shelby Harris. Their outside linebackers don't scare me. Their inside linebackers don't scare me. Their corners are decent, but they don't really make plays on the ball. And you really got to watch out for Justin Simmons. So overall, watching them play, I think with or without Dak, we should win this game by double digits. And I don't think I've said that confidently in a game so far this year. Raphael asked, is Bradley Chubb still with Denver? He is, but he got hurt week 1. So he's on IR. He's not coming back this year. So they're really kind of digging at the bottom of the barrel with their linebacker position. On the inside, they got Baron Browning. On the outside, they got Jonathan Cooper. So they're relying heavily on rookies to make plays for them. I just don't see it happening. Offensively, I think this is going to be a heavy dose of Zeke and Pollard. I think this is going to be one of those games where Pollard should really show out because they don't have anybody fast enough to keep up with them. Baron Browning probably can, but they rely on him heavily in coverage in the middle. Their outside guys they can't cut it. So it should be a very interesting matchup. This week, I know I won't be able to do a pregame show. So let's go ahead and get some game predictions right now. I see the comments are drying up, but the views are still the same. So let me get you guys re-engaged back in the show. So let me get your game predictions for the game this week.
Game prediction.
All right, guys. So in the comments, let me know what your games predictions are for this week. I'm really interested in seeing what you guys think in terms of a score. And because we don't know, give me your score with Dak and without Dak. And like Mendoza said, we do owe them anyway from 2017. DJ Dog asked the question, do we breathe a sigh of relief when you heard Von Miller was traded? The fact that Tyron Smith is not playing, yes, I do. But I don't think he's the game wrecker that he was before. Because they played a game 2 weeks ago against Cleveland. And Cleveland's left tackle was out. And he made the comment that whoever they put in front of him, I'm going to kill him. And they ran the ball right at Von Miller all night. So that doesn't really scare me in terms of whether or not he's there or not. So Raphael has Dallas 42, Denver 17. So guys, everybody who's still here, let me know what you're thinking. Jeff has Dallas 40, Denver 14. Raphael has the score kind of dropping down a little bit if Dak doesn't play. Jeff does as well. So Jeff, you think Denver's gonna score less points if Dak doesn't play? Let me know in the comments why you think that. That's interesting. All right. Franco has with Dak 47-12. Boy, you guys think they're gonna lay it on thick. Mendoza 38-16. With Dak, without 24-17. Okay. And we got Marlo joining us. Thank you for joining, Marlo. With Dak 35-10. Without Dak 28-14. Okay. DJ Dog says with Dak 27-17. Let me know what you think if Dak doesn't play. Because that's a lot closer than everybody else said. And you said Tyron missing has you a little spooked. Looking at Denver play, I don't think you should have any concerns with Jonathan Cooper at the outside linebacker position. And Jeff says the reason is because we play ball control without Dak gives them less time to score. Okay, that's an interesting point. I can see that. Because I think our defense is really rallying around this team right now. So I'll go ahead and give my score. Looking at this game once again, if Dak plays, I think it gets ugly quick. I can see us cranking out 17 before they get on the board. So I'm leaning 31-13 if Dak plays. And if Dak doesn't play, I'll probably give him 24-17. Sounds a little bit closer, but I don't think it'll be that close. So 34-13 if Dak plays, 24-17 if Dak doesn't play. And DJ Dog got a tight game, 19-17 with Rush's QB. If Rush can clean up some of those bad throws that Minnesota didn't catch last week, I don't think it's going to be close. But if those plays turn to interceptions this week, I can see that happening, DJ Dog, for sure. Just like last week, Mendoza talked about this earlier. You look at their cornerbacks, not very good hands. I see the same thing with Denver. If not for the safeties, they wouldn't have gotten a turnover. I see the same thing with Denver. I don't think that Rush will make the type of throw that he made last week to get that easier interception. So I'm just hoping he can kind of clean up what he's done from last week. One thing I know is about Surtain, in college they played him off quite a bit. I haven't seen them play him in off coverage that much this year. So I don't know if that's his request or they just think he looks that good he doesn't have to play off. I've seen Darby play off quite a bit, so that's gonna be interesting. We got the 94s joining us in late, 35-0, our first shutout of the year. 35-0, okay. So the 94s, I'm assuming that's if Dak plays. What do you think the score will be if Dak doesn't play? Okay, and so Charlie says 34-20 with Dak. He is confident that Dak is playing, so he's not even going to bother putting the score without. Well, if they say he's going to aggressively practice tomorrow, that sounds like an indication that he's playing, but we'll see how he feels on Friday. So let me ask you this question, Charlie, since you say that, and we'll probably talk about this on Keeping Up with the Joneses. So kind of keep it in the back of your mind if you don't want to put it in the comments. Are we playing in Denver this week? Before I ask this question, because I do not keep up with if we play at home or away. No, we're playing in Dallas, so don't never mind. I was about to say something about the high altitudes and how it affects people with the travel, but that's not even an issue right now. Dak gets to sleep in his own bed, so we'll see what happens. DJ Dog says Brian Broaddus was saying his sources tell him Tyron's ankle is a high ankle sprain and not a bone spur. That's interesting. And I talked about this in the Facebook groups with one of the guys in the Stargame group. talking about bone spurs don't normally have guys sit out like that. But it's interesting. We never saw Tyron limp off the field, so I don't know. Um, the good news is high ankle sprains for offensive linemen are not 6-week injuries. I've had an ankle sprain before. I don't play at the level of Tyron plays, but I've had a high ankle sprain before as an offensive lineman. A high ankle sprain for an offensive lineman is really a 1-week injury. You get through it for a week, you tape the shit out of that ankle and make sure it's good and compressed and stabilized, and you go out there and ball. It doesn't really affect offensive linemen as much as it does for receivers that rely a lot more on ankle flexibility. You can really tape that thing up and kind of Frankenstein it on one leg and still be able to play productively. And I see we got First Last joining us, another new name joining from YouTube. Thank you for joining. Same for you if you haven't done so already. Make sure you like where you are. Also, make sure you subscribe. All my social media is at the bottom of the screen right here. Find me on YouTube at Bluff City Cowboys. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell. But yeah, those ankle sprains do suck. But like I said, ankle sprains don't keep offensive linemen off the field. It will probably be better if it was an ankle sprain, not a bone spur, because the pain is probably far less from an ankle sprain if you have it taped and compressed. All right, guys, before we get out of here with an hour and 27 minutes, and thank you to 94s, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Make sure you continue to support the Cowboy Zone. Thank you guys for another great show, hour 27 minutes. You guys have really been bringing it again, as always. So before I go, let me get you guys involved one more time. We're going to do a segment I like to call Over Under. I'll throw out a couple of stats, and you guys tell me whether or not we go over or under on these statistics. We'll do a couple of these, and then we'll get out of here.
Over under.
All right, guys, for the new people joining us, Over Under, one of my favorite segments. Just based off of the gameplay in the past, I'll throw some stats out. You guys let me know whether or not we'll be over or under on those, or if we push. I don't like to see a push, so make sure you're decisive in what you say. All right, so let's start off with this one. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball. This past week, we had Coop and Lamb both had over 100 yards. I believe both of them had 8 catches, if I'm not mistaken. So this week, over under one of our receivers, not both of them, one of our receivers, 8 catches. Let me know what you think in the comments. Over under 8 catches, one of our receivers. All right, Raphael says over. And if you want to, let me know which receiver it is. DJ Dog says under. First Last says under also. Charlie says over. Does anybody think Marlo giving us the push? Okay. Jeff says over for Coop. First Last saying ball is spread evenly. That's interesting. Okay. Our tight ends weren't involved in the game last week, so that could have been the reason why there were so many balls thrown outside. And that's a good point, First Last, because Michael Gallup is probably coming back this week. So that's another guy taking catches away from our outside guys. And Franco saying if Dak plays, he likes to share the ball. That's a great point. So it looks like the people who say over are going with CD, and Jeff has it at Cook. All right, so Keeping it with the offense, like I said before, Denver's run defense is not very good. And while Zeke did make a couple of big plays for us in the passing game, the running game was pretty stagnant. So over under 75 yards rushing for Zeke this week. Over under 75 yards. Let me know what you guys think. All right, the 94 said under. First Last says Zeke is going nuts. Everybody else coming in with the overs. I'm definitely over as well. Charlie saying under. 94 saying over for both TP and Zeke. It's not impossible because, like I said, they do not have a lot of team speed, and they are awful on the edges when it comes to the run game. So that could be a possibility. Jeff says Pollard would have about 60, and Zeke will probably have about 75. So that'd be a great running game for us this week. 94 says the under was for the wide receivers. Okay, I got you. All right. Since Jeff already hit on this one, talking about Pollard. So since you guys say over 75 for Zeke, over under Pollard 45 yards rushing. Over under. First Last said he wouldn't be surprised for the running backs to go over 250 rushing. That would be a great game. Okay. So that's why Charlie said under for Zeke. He thinks Pollard's going to have the big game this week. First Last also says over, of course. Oh, yeah. Thank you for bringing it up, DJ Dog, because I completely looked over this. Charlie was the mind reader saying over. So everybody definitely has Pollard going over. Okay. I didn't even talk about this week. The Hulk personnel. What did you guys think about that? I personally love the formation. Just thinking about the options you have with it. Let's assume a team plays nickel against us with 2 linebackers. You've essentially got 7 blockers on the field against 6 defensive guys in the box. 7 big blockers. So assume we go into the Hulk formation and we catch the team in nickel, which statistically they will more than likely be in nickel. They have to bring a safety down. The beauty of it is because they're in nickel and we're running that big formation, we've got Lamb and Coop on the outsides. So you're basically going to leave Lamb and Coop one-on-one on the edges with a cornerback. So you have to pick your poison. If we catch a team in the nickel, that means they more than likely have to bring down both safeties, honestly, because we have 7 offensive linemen going against 4 defensive linemen and 2 linebackers and a safety. The numbers are already in our favor right there. Jeff saying he loved it. Marlo said he loved it. Definitely for a few plays, Charlie. They need to keep bringing it back. And DJ Dog, great point. Even if we don't see it, it's on tape now, and teams have to prepare for it. And whenever you make a defense have to prepare for something, it's always a plus for the offense. And this is a great point, Mendoza. I talked about this as an option also. Josh Ball is a talented tackle. I know he didn't have an offseason, but certain positions you can kind of throw guys out there and their athleticism can get them by. Offensive tackle is, in my opinion, one of those positions to an extent, unless you're just playing an all-world type player. In a game like this or a game like Atlanta, if we thought about throwing Josh Ball out there and seeing what he could do, I wouldn't be opposed to that either. If he looks like he's even close to what Ty Nsekhe already brings. So the 94 saying if Tyron is out, who's the 7th? Just like Mendoza said, you could use Ball in that formation as the seventh lineman. All right, guys, let's go back to the defensive side again. So we know Randy Gregory's been on it. Our other defensive linemen have been bringing pressures. Not a lot of them have really gotten home. So over under half a sack for the rest of the defense. We won't even say how many Randy Gregory gets. No, let's do 1 sack. Over under 1 sack for the rest of the defense. Not including Randy Gregory. What do you guys think? And Charlie's saying we ran 11 63% of the time last week. The most we ran it all year. We ran 12 25% of the time, which is well below our average. That's a great statistic, because I did notice I can't even remember a catch that one of our tight ends got. We were relying heavily on 11 personnel, and I really could see one of the reasons for that. When you talk about offense, whenever you have your backup quarterback in, who's normally his best friend in practice? Usually your backup quarterback's number 1 receiver in practice is your number 3, number 4 wide receiver on your wide receiver depth. So that would be Cedric Wilson. So more than likely you saw a lot of Cedric Wilson. You saw him make the big play because in practice during the week, Cedric Wilson is probably Cooper Rush's CeeDee Lamb all week. So he's really familiar with him. So in a game like this, you didn't want to take his best offensive weapon off the field. So we got a lot of people. Boy, those came in quick. Everybody says over 1 sack for the rest of our defense. Jeff says double Randy and Gregory. W. Randall and Osa gets 1. The 94 says Parsons going to get home. Mendoza, this is why I took it from half a sack to 1 sack, because Teddy Bridgewater's been getting killed the past 3 weeks. So we should be able to get after it more because he holds the ball, not because the offensive line is bad. Thank you, DJ Dog. I did forget about that 1 catch. The 94 saying you can't see an outside blitz. I actually said this last week that because of the way they run their offense, it would probably be better to blitz from the outside than the inside. And I've been saying all show, this offense reminds me of Minnesota's offense. So you're probably right, the 94s. Just like I said last week, it's probably best to blitz them from the outside than from the inside, because they run a lot of off tackle and they run a lot of play action, where by the time the quarterback turns around, you can be right there on them. Mendoza says Fields and Tannehill have been sacked more. And for both of those guys, Fields holds the ball a whole lot. And Tannehill, when he has to throw it, he basically just tries to hold it until A.J. Brown can get open. So I could definitely see those guys being sacked a lot as well. And Stephen White, I just saw you subscribe. I just got the notification. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate all your comments on Keeping Up with the Jones on Saturday night. So I definitely appreciate you tuning in to the Cowboy Zone today. DJ Dog saying Donovan Wilson starting to heat up. Yeah, he has to heat up because the guy in front of him has been balling. J-Ron Curse is our leading tackler on the team. And they also said he's got the green dot on his helmet, which for a safety to have the green dot, that's major because that's telling me he's staying on the field. Normally, the guy who has the green dot is the guy who's on the field all 3 downs. So the fact that he has it, that lets me know that's his spot. So Wilson better heat up if he wants to touch the field because he's not touching it at the strong safety position. And the 94s, thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. We try to do as best we can, keep you guys engaged. So let's do 2 more over-unders. So like I said before, they run the ball a lot with both of their running backs. And Micah Parsons had a monster game last week. I believe he had 11 tackles. Over under Micah Parsons 8 tackles this week. Let me know what you think on that one. And that's a great point too. They are using both of them kind of like additional linebackers in the box. So they're definitely doing a lot of participating in the run game. Raphael says over. And that's a great point too, Charlie. And by the way, great episode with Riker last night. That guy Wedge Buster really brought some great comments and feedback. You guys make sure you need to have him on the show again. And you guys who watch us, make sure you check out Riker show on Tuesdays at 7:00, I believe. 7:00. Curse having that green dot does free up Parsons. It allows him to read and react more and not have to worry about getting the signals from the sideline and trying to get people lined up. One of the many things I love about what we've seen from this team so far. I mean, maybe if they did that in the past 2 or 3 years, number 9 might still be here. Or 54 at that time. Because we always talked about he shouldn't have had as many responsibilities as he did. So I love seeing that from the coaching staff. I love Jeff's comment. The line is always hungry. And 94s, I agree. This can be a stat stuffer. This game. Let me do one more over under, 2 more over unders. So like I mentioned before, if you watch Teddy Bridgewater throw the ball, it sails. And he holds onto the ball quite a bit to try to get his guys open. This game is another game that lines up very well for Trayvon Diggs, as well as Anthony Brown. So Charlie says the green dot was the least of his problems. I would have to agree with you on that one as well. All right. Over. I think this is going to be a multi-interception game. So over under 1 interception for our secondary or for our corners. Brown, Lewis, Diggs. Over under 1 interception. I think this is a multi-interception game, so over under our corners getting more than 1. Great comment, Mendoza. I think I said this last night on Charlie and Riker show. If Dak plays, he'll be on the sideline drinking Gatorade by the 4th quarter. That's how ugly I think this will be. Hold on. Steven White says 2 for AB. I haven't used this in a while, but I got to bring it out. A bold prediction from Steven White.
Bold predictions.
Steven White with the bold prediction, 2 interceptions, Anthony Brown. I would love to see how social media would just explode if Anthony Brown got 2 picks in a game. Good question, Charlie. I brought this up earlier. Their starting left tackle is more likely than not. Actually, they just said he's out. So their starting tackle, Gary Bowles, is out this week. Their backup is a guy named Steven Anderson. He's got some experience playing, but again, he's a backup. He's a solid player. He's not the worst tackle we've seen this year. He's a very strong run blocking tackle. He likes to try to get on the ends early to try to limit them using their athleticism against them. So there are going to be some opportunities. Bobby Massey is their right tackle. I remember him from his years at Chicago. He looked pretty bad. He looks solid now. He looks like a solid right tackle. So time has definitely helped him to gain some experience. The interior of their offensive line, I would say, is an above average offensive line. They seem to do well with communication in terms of stunts. They handle power pretty well. So I feel like this is going to be a game where Osa's going to have to do a little bit of work. So it's going to be interesting. I think our pass rush, like somebody else mentioned, is going to have to come from the edges in terms of Gregory and maybe a nickel blitz, safety blitz. DJ Dog said Michael gets his first TD. The 94s, I believe Dominic White was in the comments earlier. He did confirm that Noah Fant is out with COVID, but Albert O is a very capable tight end who can make some big plays if given the opportunity. And thanks, Jeff, for backing that up also. All right, guys. So this is my last over-under. I don't think our safeties or our linebackers have got an interception so far this year. So over-under half an interception. Do we get an interception from our linebackers or our safeties this week? If it's over, let me know which group you think gets one, the linebackers or the safeties. Yeah, Jeff, it's one or zero. I'm just interested what you guys think. 1 or 0. Stephen White sticking with Micah Parsons getting his this week. So Stephen White, you have Anthony Brown getting 2 interceptions and Micah Parsons getting 1. All right, Charlie says the linebackers get 1. Mendoza has it going to the safeties. Great point. Micah did almost have 1 last game. So that's definitely true. Charlie giving the linebackers 2 interceptions this week. Jeff has Micah getting a strip, sack, touchdown. And DJ Dog has Micah getting a tip pass. I'm probably leaning safeties because, like I said before, Teddy's usually pretty accurate and pretty quick in his decision making when it comes to throwing it to the running backs and the tight end. Where he has his problems is throwing outside the hashes. That ball does sail. Malik Hooker has been getting a lot of reps the past 2 weeks, kind of under the radar. I think his time might be due. We got KZ still back there. J-Ron Curse is on the field nonstop. He's covering the tight ends quite a bit. Maybe Bridgewater tries to throw one in there and Curse can get underneath it. So I'm looking for my safeties to make an impact this week in terms of interceptions. And I think Diggs starts the streak back again. I think Diggs gets one this week also. When Teddy throws it outside, he loves to force it to Cortland Sutton on those 50-50 balls. And Diggs is the type of corner who is a 50-50 ball catcher as well. So it's either going Sutton or Diggs. And if you throw it over there enough times, it's not always going to be Sutton. So I just leave it at that with those two guys. Yeah, Hooker is a great tackle. He's been playing pretty well in his limited time so far. And he's slowly working his way into possibly getting that other starting spot. I agree, Mendoza. Like I said before, like I've been saying, Bridgewater loves to throw it to Sutton, and he loves to wait for him to get open. So if Diggs can bait him and make him look like he's open, Bridgewater's going to take a chance, and his arm is not strong enough to throw it in there. He has to let it sail a little bit, and that'll give Diggs just enough time to get under it. All right, guys, I think that's all I got for this week. Another great episode. Once again, I thought I'd only go for an hour, and we're at 1 hour 51 minutes, and you guys are still bringing comments. So once again, thank you guys for joining the show. You guys fuel the Cowboy Zone. I always appreciate your great comments, great questions. I can honestly say that since we've been doing the show, you guys have been bringing A+ questions and comments. There haven't been a lot of what the hell is this guy talking about type questions, unless somebody's trying to make a joke. So I appreciate you guys doing your homework. I appreciate you guys being the knowledgeable fans you are, having real discussions and dialogues about the team and the teams that we play. And thank you guys for just being engaged for 1 hour and 50 minutes every week. Yeah, just like we've been saying the 94s, tall receivers. Dunk for Mike and honor for Hollywood Henderson. Charlie talking about the noodle arm. Yeah, he looks like Rush a little bit, Charlie. I'll say that. Watching him play. So yeah, DJ Dog, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming in every week also. I like, again, there are 1,000 podcasts you guys can watch. I appreciate every minute you guys tune in to the Cowboy Zone. Hopefully we can get Lambeau back in a week or so. He's dealing with some personal matters right now, but he will be back soon. I hope that at least we can get some Cowboy Dale videos because we have 4 more division games. So every rivalry week, we normally try to get Cowboy Dale on the show. So hopefully you guys can stay tuned for that. Next week, we play Atlanta. My gut is still telling me I need to be concerned about this game. So I'm probably going to bring a couple of the viewers on the show to kind of help talk me off the cliff. So I'm going to reach out to a few of the viewers who are normally in the comments, see if they can come on the show for 30 minutes or so. They go through these key matchups with me. I'll tell them my concerns, and hopefully they can talk me off the cliff. Now, if we just destroy Denver, all my concerns may be gone, but I still want to get the guys back on the show. We haven't had any viewers on the show since the all season, so I definitely want to show my appreciation to all you guys, just to let you know how appreciative I am for you guys taking your time to watch the Cowboy Zone. So that's pretty much all I got for the show today. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys tune in this Saturday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time for Keeping Up with the Joneses. It'll be myself, Riker Moves the Chains, Charlie with Dallas Cowboys Uncensored. We'll be talking news and notes of the Cowboys before the game. If anything happens, we'll continue some of the discussions that we've had tonight and that they had last night. We may have a special guest join us. I don't know, this Saturday. So be sure to tune in if you can for that. And once again, 1 hour 54 minutes. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Marcus, Bluff City Cowboy. You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Bluff City Cowboys. You can find me on Twitter at Bluff Cowboys. You see all my information across the bottom. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go like a video. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also make sure you guys hit that bell so you can be updated for whenever I go live. So that's it for the show. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week.